comments on wetlands. And so we also had a couple of comments regarding the stormwater pollution prevention plan, and I think we were still looking for approval from the DOT for the entrance onto the state highway.
Yeah,
So,
I can look at that.
My name is Joe Hines. I'm the civil engineer for the project. We have reached out to New York State DOT on this entrance. We spoke with them on the phone about a month ago. They don't have any issue with where the entrance is located currently. The project's actually going to use the existing site entrance with some improvements being made, obviously, since there's a change in use. But before they can process the application further, they need a secret determination from the planning board. So that's where we left it with DOT.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does it vote on anything?
Edwin?
No? Okay. Well, at this time then I would say, I'd like to have a motion to open the oral portion of the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Yes. Second.
Second? Oh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
So, before you go to the public, the site, the larger site, I think it was determined that that site is not visible from any roads, is that correct?
That's correct. We prepared some line of sight diagrams from Route 209 that looks up the hill. So we're actually benefited. I mean, it's going to be more of a cost to construct the road, but one of the benefits of the elevation change is that provides most of the screening, and then we're maintaining the remaining trees that aren't being affected by the solar array. None of those are being removed for the project. So
After that solar panel, assuming it was to be built, it's not visible from.
that's correct. Yeah, it's not visible from 209.
And the smaller one? Was, how about the small one?
But we looked at both arrays. Yeah, they're not visible.
Neither one's visible.
Neither one.
Amanda, can you read the advertised notice for the project?
Notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held by the Town of Deerpark Planning Board, Orange County, New York, pursuant to Article 7 of the Town of Deerpark zoning law on an application for a site plan review. The application affects the following premises: records owner, Honors Family Trust, applicant IPP Solar LLC. Tax map designation, section 20, block 1, lot 34.152. Zone designation, hamlet mixed use. Description of application, 13.5 megawatt solar array located at 1149 US Route 209, Pettabackville, New York 12729. Information on this application can be viewed at the Town Clerk Office, Town of Deerpark, 420 Route 209, Huguenot, New York. The hearing should take place at 7 o'clock p.m. on the 22nd day of May 2024 at the Town of Deerpark Town Hall located at 420 Route 209, Town of Deerpark, Orange County, New York, or soon thereafter as practical. All parties wishing to be heard shall be heard at that time.
Thank you, Amanda. Are you in receipt of all the mailings that were within 500 feet of the project?
Yes.
Are they all in order?
Yes.
I didn't get one. I got the first letter, but I never got the second one.
They were sent out. I have proof they were all sent out, so I don't know.
Did you have to sign for it?
Yes, they were sent certified mail.
Well, there wasn't anybody there to sign for it. I was here.
They're only required to
That's
have
our-
it delivered and notify that if you want to pick it up, you can at the post office, but they're required to provide proof that they were mailed.
Okay, all right.
I didn't receive either letter.
How far are you from the site?
All of my neighbors received letters, all around me.
Okay. But it's done through a program in the assessor's office.
Excuse me?
It's done through a program in the assessor's office with the required fee.
Jack is closer than we are, and we got a letter.
I don't know.
Is it, can I just, can we just,
I can't check.
well, we'll get your name just to verify that
Fine.
it either was sent or it wasn't sent. It's not to stop the public hearing.
What's his name?
Can we just have your name for the record, or can we look it up?
I beg your pardon?
Can we have the gentleman's name just for the record?
My name?
Yes.
Jack Harmon, Harmon.
No, we'll look. Mr. Harmon, see.
Okay, thank you.
No, I appreciate it, thank you.
I'll go.
All right, at this point in the juncture, we can actually ask questions of the public for the project. I do have a list picked up by the door, people signed in when they came in. The first one on the list is a Charlie Gillender. Mr. Gillender, podium's yours if you want. Just basic ground rules. When I say ground rules, is rules that we use at a public hearing. Any questions are asked directly, or any responses are directly to the board. We limit client or applicant and public interaction at this particular point in time. So just bear in mind, if any questions, ask it directly of the board, that's all.
I think for the most part, minor comments more than anything. I'm not gonna use that, I'm gonna try to speak loudly.
Okay.
I'm Charlie Gillender, and I'd like to start out by saying that PV is not as reliable as we are led to believe. And reliability in this context is that PV has intermittent availability of limited duration. I'm gonna build on this. A recent case, this past January, there were 10 straight days of heavy cloud cover with low, no PV production. Anybody that has PV on their house, check their phone, you'll see you have no PV production. I checked mine, pretty much zero. Once we understand the reliability issue, we ask what is required to replace an existing thermal or gas-fired megawatt of production. According to PJM ISO, and that's Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland ISO. Here we're in the New York ISO, but I'm going to reference some New York ISO and some Pennsylvania ISO. A paper dated 2/24/23, between 5.5 to 6 megawatts of PV is required to replace 1 megawatt of thermal generation. That's quite a bit. Because of the reliability issue, increased use of PV will cause grid destabilization and outages, again according to PJM 2/24/23 white paper. For a stable grid, inputs need to be able to be turned off and on rapidly at will. PV can be turned off rapidly, but may not be rapidly turned on due to availability at the time, nights, cloudiness, things like that. Thermal can go turned on and off rapidly, which helps with grid stability. PV cannot match loads. There are now 2 peak electric demand seasons, one in the summer and the second one in the winter. PV cannot carry the winter load, right? When we have direct experience on that. NISO, New York ISO, predicts that by 2034, peak winter load will exceed peak summer load. Surprise there, right? PV is generally not available to carry load in the winter. Peak load in the winter will increase under CLCPA, which is New York's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, as gas heating appliances are required to be replaced starting 2030 with electric heating appliances. This is a big deal now. We're counting on more electric being used in the winter when the PV production is going to go to zero. In addition, we can expect electric energy costs to increase by 3 to 4 times, again by Corny Natural Gas paper on 2/17/22. Are the residents of Deerpark prepared to pay 60 to 80 cents per kilowatt hour compared to the current 20 plus cents per kilowatt hour? Okay. Now to the board. Clear cutting is bad for the environment. It displaces local wildlife, it creates local deserts with lack of cover, and promotes erosion. Orange County gave both the planning board and IPP Solar a list of shoulds, suggestions, and encouragements for the site. None are mandatory, and from what we have seen from other PV farms, including the one in Deerpark, none were put in place. So that Orange County paper is a waste of space. This leads to herbicide use and erosion. I think that needs to be directly asked of the company. From Google, and there's a live Google app that you can look at satellite, it appears that the land has already been cleared. Surprise, surprise. What happened to no work before approvals, as I was told when I came before the planning board for my own project. You know, we're not applying the law equally here, folks. You can't tell me not to do work, but allow them to do work. And don't say it's at their risk. You were explicit. I could not do work until I got my approvals. Others have come before the planning board and were told no work before approvals. I'm crying foul on this right now. To the board, I was asked last time by IPP Solar, which would I rather want, another gas-fired plant like the one in Middletown or solar? And you know what? That's a really good question. To answer that, I would need to compare equal outputs from both gas-fired and a thermal plant, PV to thermal. First, the thermal plant. Let us use the CPV plant over Middletown. That uses 30 acres of a 130-acre site that produces 680 megawatts of electricity. Now let's look at PV. If you go on Google, Google will say between 6 and 10 acres of land are needed to produce 1 megawatt of electric. I'm going to use 8 for my example, it's just an average. Let us say, here's a hypothetical question, let us say that Deerpark was picked for the installation of 680 megawatts of new electric generation. Deerpark agreed to that. The planning board needs to pick between thermal and PV. I'm going to ask you, which would you pick? We already know that the thermal uses 130 acres. For the PV option, we need to multiply 8 acres per megawatt times 680 megawatt hours produced times the 5.5 for the lack of reliability availability factor for a required acreage of 29,920 acres required to produce 680 megawatts of electricity. Now, I got the 5.5 lack of reliability factor from the PJM paper that I referenced earlier. Deerpark has a total of 43,490 acres. The thermal option would take 0.2% of Deerpark's land, while the PV option would take 68% of Deerpark's land. Does it make clear which one the board would want? New technology should make more from less, not less from more. PV makes less from more. After this project, Deerpark will never see IPP Solar again. That's my bet. New York City, they're gone. They're out of here. The planning board has just one responsible choice, which is deny this application. The land should be replanted and restored.
Thank you, Mr. Yellender. I have a second name, S. Grillo,
Grillo, yeah.
Hi, that was incredible, and my questions are very basic. I guess the way this works is I ask questions, and then part of the process is the board then takes them back to the client, for lack of a better word, and comes
Correct.
back with answers.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So, very basic questions. So first of all, I didn't see any additional documentation. So is there analysis like wildlife impacts and things like that are done as part of this?
There's no actual answer at this point. You asked a question.
Oh, okay, all right, so I'd like to see a wildlife impact to
That's
make
fine.
sure there's no.
Absolutely.
This is a very off-the-wall question, I guess from reading different papers. The area under the panels, right, because the panels sit up in the air and there's area underneath it. How is that kept clean, right? Because my understanding is it has to be kept clean. I've read in some cases they bring in flocks of sheep that are used to clean up the ground. If so, what's that impact? Hopefully the sheep don't get loose and turn into like the wild boar problem we have, right? They start going into other people's lawns and things like that. Having been a sheep owner at one point, right, there is waste product, and where does that waste product go? In terms of oversights and inspections, like an ongoing process, is that the state that conducts that, or some like regulatory agency within the state, and how often is that done? I guess that would be a question I would want to know. And finally, along those lines, right, the power has to get from the solar panels to a power station, right? I assume there's going to be cables run, and having been reading once again telephone cables, and now all of a sudden, all these telephone cables that were left behind are also like now noted as being toxic. You know, what safeguards are in place to ensure that does not happen? And also, talking with a friend of mine, he's not based in New York State, but, you know, who's familiar with power companies, says that in the case of projects like this, there's usually the developer, I guess, usually needs to put in place a bond of some sort that says, okay, in 20 years, in case the project goes belly up, you know, something that protects the town and its taxpayers against any like financial liability. So, those are my questions. Sorry if they were too basic, but thank you for the time.
That was great, that was great question. Number 3, I don't wanna murder everybody's name, but I'm gonna give it a go. Ministro, some, Vita?
Yeah, that's us.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, we have nothing to say, just came to here.
What's that?
We have nothing to say, just came.
Okay,
here to-
that's fine. Yeah, a lot of times prior people will answer your own questions. I appreciate you coming, though, thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Dolan, that's an easy one.
I just have a couple of quick questions,
Sure,
and I apologize if they were answered previously.
sorry.
My concerns are.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Oh, Christine Dolan.
Thank you.
My concerns are how far away are the solar panel fields from the homes that are surrounding it? Is there a buffer zone? And what are the health risks involved? Because reading online, I've read that there are quite a few health risks that can come from this, including electromagnetic radiation, and that there should be a buffer zone of at least half a mile to a little over a mile from the panel site to where homes are. So I was concerned about that. And that's
Okay,
it.
yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Easy, Robert Smith? Robert? Yeah, Pat, that's fine, thank you. Jeannie Upshaw? Jeannie Upshaw? Jeannie?
Pass.
Oh, pass. And Melissa Tempo?
Yes. I had the same basic questions, but.
Okay.
I'm Melissa Tampone. I have questions as far as health concerns as well. As far as border lines, will there be fencing around? Because I know my neighbor's borders this property, and how much of the 149 acres will be solar, all solar panels? That's just my basic questions.
Anybody else? Come on. Yes, sir, come on up. Just state your name for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Michael Singer, and I received the letter last month and came to the meeting, and then it was postponed, and that was the first time I heard about this project. And on the record, I'm pro-solar. I wish I could afford a solar car, I can't. And I've seen solar fields going up all over Orange County. As a neighbor, I'd like to know what the health risks are, because what I'm seeing online, like some people mentioned, is you should live at least 1.2 miles away from a solar farm. And I believe I live much closer than 1.2, so I'd like to know that. As Mr. Grower stated also, I'd like to know what environmental impact study was done, because as a neighboring property, I don't have that much acreage, but I'm concerned about wildlife also coming to my property now. I can't keep a tomato garden for nothing because all of the animals that come in and eat it. Is there gonna be a fence? If there is a fence, how far is the setback of the panels? Another big concern of mine is the heat generated from these solar panels, both day and night. What is the impact there? Are these going to attract more bugs because of the heat, because bugs are drawn to the heat, and is that gonna impact my life? Also would be the issue about drainage, as one of the gentlemen mentioned also. I know there are many houses downhill from there. I imagine the water runs downhill off that mountain. What is being taken into account for that? And I'm thrilled Mr. Hondas has got some plans for his property, because everybody would like to make money off their property if so. And again, pro solar, so I just want to know how some of these things are going to impact. And then as somebody else mentioned, at the end of the 20-year contract or lifespan of this, are we as taxpayers going to be impacted if this has to be shut down, removed? I know there's money held in escrow. I don't know if it's enough. Does that money appreciate over years? That would be a concern as a taxpayer, because I'm taxed out as it is. Another thing would be the noise. Is there an opportunity to go to one of IPP's other solar farms in the afternoon or night and hear what these transformers that buzz or whirl, if that would impact us? Because, you know, not that this is Bitcoin mining, but I've heard how neighbors next to those places lose their minds because it generates a lot of noise at night. Is there any odors produced from any of this equipment? I know solar is a panel, but I'm just unaware if that would be an issue. As one gentleman mentioned, he heard that sheep brought in. I've never heard that locally, but I heard that lawnmowers and weed whackers might be running all day to keep the grass or debris down under these solar fields. And I know how annoying that could be as a neighbor also. I'm under the impression that this property is being leased and not sold to Orange and Rockland, so I heard the gentleman when he first opened said that some of the neighbors can benefit. I'd like to know more how I can benefit as a Orange and Rockland customer, and what I have to do to you know, see that. Is there a tax consideration for us as neighbors that have to put up with this solar farm? And the other lady mentioned, how big will the solar farm be? You know, size-wise. And I think that covers it for now. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on the project?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Joseph Fulham. I'm not the property owner of the Stag Gun Club, but I'm one of the members. And we're not too far from the installation. As far as from day one, the degradation begins on these panels. If there's a 20-year life, what are the plans 20 years down the road for replacement or disposal of these panels? Because that's an underlying question for any solar installation. We're probably just getting to the end of a lot of installations from the turn of the century, and we don't know where those panels are going to end up, or who's going to bear the brunt of that cost. So if it's a 20-year term that we're discussing, 20 years from now, when those things have pretty much gotten to the end of their useful life, what happens? Our property is along the Marcy line. That was put in 1985 or so. The road, we didn't really have a road, we had a dirt path going into our property. We saw a tremendous decrease in the passability of that road just from a 50-yard wide swath of a power line being put in. So if you're going to take out that much in the way of forest, I'm not sure that there's any additional plantings that will, you know, enable to keep that much water from running downhill. Don't know what it will do to 209 or any driveways or roads along the way. So something you may want to consider as far as for the studies that have been done. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to comment on the project? Did we receive anything written, Amanda? Nothing written? With any board comments? Board comments, anything from John?
Not really yet.
Okay. Close on? Well, with that said, then, we can make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Will seconds, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, just to, just kind of recap and go over the citizens' concerns about the project. Ms. Mayor's here. Is it a fair assumption that you could have something written to address these questions, that maybe you could present at the next scheduled, I don't know, next scheduled planning board meeting?
Absolutely. A lot of very legitimate questions, and technical will be happy to produce a report and a letter to your attention, Chairman, with answers to those questions.
Okay, who's our next, I'm sorry.
Just one thing to add, there were 2 or 3 comments and concerns regarding drainage. So in your SWIP, I know you prepared a stormwater pollution prevention plan, maybe a discussion about whether there's an increase in runoff and what that increase is and how much that is.
You don't have to address that now, you can address that.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful, maybe we had a written description of, kind of the highlights of the stormwater pollution prevention plan, but that addresses all those comments regarding drainage.
Our next scheduled meeting is for June the 12th, which is a little bit over 2 weeks out there, so whoever wants to come back, we're going to address your questions at that time. Charlie, you gave us a list that long, so a lot of feedback on that.
He's got a copy.
Yeah, we can accept that. We take that as written comment.
Well, it's the same thing I said, so.
Okay, that's fine.
One last comment, there is, if I'm not mistaken, a decommissioning bond that's associated with this application. So that
Yes.
decommissioning bond is prepared by the applicant and it's reviewed by the engineer's office to make sure it's a reasonable bond to cover the removal of panels should the whole entire project, cease operation, so that there will be a bond in place for the duration. And should they continue after the 20 or 25 years, they would obviously have to renew that decommissioning bond. And that has to be approved by our office to make sure that the bond is sufficient, so that exactly what you're concerned about does not happen. That'll be part of the response.
And one other point that the gentleman brought up, we will make a link available to all those who are interested to subscribe should the project get approval, obviously. At that point, after approval, we would provide a link, so whoever is interested to subscribe and get discounted rate on their electricity, that would be available down the road.
Okay, that'll do it for now. Just,
Thank you very much.
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And just for Mr. Gillen's sake, we will make a note that right he gave us as part of the public record also.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I'll provide it to the applicant so they can review it and answer any.
And we'll all get a copy too. so.
Okay, good, thank you.
I'll try to write as fast as you were talking.
And reach out to me if you have any questions.
Okay. We appreciate everybody coming for the project. Thank you very much. I don't know if, For a note here, one second.
You can't tell Mr. Hunter what he's doing.
You guys just kinda, you wanna take it outside, you wanna keep our meeting going?
They're trying to continue with their agenda, so I'm just gonna move this to the night, I guess it's okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. The second one on our agenda is the Eddie Farm public hearing meeting scheduled. I have an email here, and I see no one on the board's copy, but on May the 9th, the day after our last meeting, John Fuller sent Amanda, myself, and Glenn an email saying they had a conflict in scheduling with tonight's public hearing, so he wants to push that public hearing off until for Christian Eddie Farm until June the 12th. So what we have to do is just make a motion to rescind the original today's date for the public hearing. We'll send that first, and then we'll establish it.
I'll second.
Greg?
Aye. Sorry.
You're gonna. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so, the second part of it is that now we have to, make a motion to reschedule that public hearing for, the Eddie Farm project for June the 12th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and yes. Now, Amanda, you gotta be advertised for that, right? You got time?
Yeah, I didn't advertise it off, cause I knew this was coming, so,
Okay.
but I just sent it to him this afternoon, so he has everything for it.
All right. Anything else good for the cause tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna look into that issue about notice, or it came up at the meeting, or how are we gonna handle that?
I'm gonna have to see how the assessor did that, because
Because they may not be actually within the distance.
they might not.
Yeah, so that's my guess, but I think since it was raised, I think we ought to verify that.
All right, so.
Yeah, I can check with him. I have a thing.
John, anything else? Well, good to see you. Anything?
Good to be seen.
Good to stole a job tonight. All right, we just need to approve the May minutes, the planning board minutes. Everybody read them, I'm sure.
Nope.
So we need just to make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Teresa seconds. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Okay.
Found that out.
With that said, I guess we can turn it over to Teresa.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so we adjourn.